Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my Blogcast. I hope you're well and you've had a good couple of weeks. Mine have been busy and fun as ever. For Christmas last year, I bought my girlfriend Linda a joint experience of a view from the Shard, followed by dinner at one of Marco Pierre White's steakhouses. She finally got round to booking it a month or so ago, and happily it was for two people and she decided to take me along, which I was very grateful for, obviously. We went and did it a couple of Saturdays ago. Neither of us had been there or done it before. Obviously, we'd walked past the Shard building lots of times when we'd been in that area of London. And of course, you could see it from pretty much anywhere in the capital anyway. So we were very aware of it. And I knew it had this viewing area and some bars and restaurants within it. So I'll be honest, prior to buying the gift, I inquired as to whether she had ever been there. I hadn't, but was quite interested in having a look. So it seemed to be a good present that maybe we could both enjoy. Is that clever or selfish? I don't know. I'll let you decide. Anyway, as it happened, we picked an absolutely stunning day to go along. Glorious sunshine, very warm, absolutely perfect for getting a good view from the tallest building in London. If you've not been before, the way it works is you book a time slot where you can enter. You have to arrive at that time and they'll let you in. We obviously managed to time it on a good day because when we arrived outside, there was no queue. Once we got inside, there was an airport-style security set up. So there was a slight queue there. Maybe took us 5 minutes to get through that. The staff there were fantastic, very friendly, very welcoming, and they made you feel really relaxed, like everything was well organised and controlled, which it was. When you arrive, obviously there is the normal photo opportunities. They take some photos of you and then you get to see those a bit later in the experience. So I'll come back to those towards the end. Once you've been through security, they show you round to the queue for the lift. Again, hardly any queue, and they just fill the lifts up till they're full and then send them off. There's actually two lifts. There's one lift to get you part of the way there. Then you have to get out of that lift and walk around to another lift and take that lift up to almost the top. It takes you to their secondary viewing platform where there's also a couple of bars and seating. And then to get to the actual top part, you have to walk up a couple of flights of stairs. It is quite amazing when you walk up there for the first time. As I said, we were lucky with the weather. It was a hot, warm, sunny, clear day. They also give you a leaflet which highlights all the main attractions, the main buildings you should be able to see from different sides of the Shard viewing platform. That's really helpful and really useful. When we arrived up to the top bit, it has AstroTurf on the floor. And I didn't actually realise this. It is open to the elements. It's kind of got a glass roof over most of it, but it's not fully covered. I didn't realise that. I don't know why. I just thought it was all enclosed in the building, but it is outside, so you get the breeze coming through and you get the sun on you as well. Or we did on that day because we were very lucky, as I said, with the weather. It's very surreal as well when you look out for the first time and you can look all across London for miles and miles. You can see as far as Windsor Castle on a clear day. I mean, granted, Windsor Castle is on top of a very big hill, so that gives you half a chance of seeing it, but it's still quite impressive and does highlight how tall the building is. I believe it's the tallest building in Western Europe. Now, I was a little bit worried that I was scared of heights, because many years ago I went to Las Vegas with a friend of mine and we went up the Stratosphere, which was the tallest building in Las Vegas, and that is very much open to the elements. In fact, that sways a bit in the wind, and I really struggled with that. I couldn't go too close to the side, and I didn't really like it. I felt a bit disorientated. So I was worried I might not necessarily enjoy the experience at the top of the Shard, but it was perfectly fine. The structure feels very safe. I did not feel scared of the heights whatsoever. So either I've been cured or just the way the experience is set up means it's perfectly fine if you do have a bit of a height phobia. It was obviously busy up there, but that said, not too busy. There were gaps and spaces, so we managed to find a spot and start looking out and picking out all the buildings and attractions we knew. So we spotted, obviously, the Houses of Parliament. We could see the London Eye and also Buckingham Palace. Could see Wembley Stadium in the distance as well, and obviously looking all the way down the River Thames. While we're up there, you can get VIP tours which come with a tour guide. I didn't actually book us a VIP tour. However, the tour guides are up there delivering the tour to the group, so you can hear bits of what they're saying. It's an open platform area. So I did catch a few interesting facts and figures and tidbits as he was going around all the different sides and explaining the view and the different things you can see. And that's exactly what we did. We slowly made our way round the platform, which is 360, so you can see all the way round. Next up, we went to the other side, and then you're looking out towards Canary Wharf. Obviously, you can see the Tower of London and Tower Bridge, and all of those well-known, recognisable landmarks. The best way I can describe it, if you haven't been there or done it, it almost seemed like London was a model village. That's what it felt like. I've been to model villages in Great Yarmouth and Beaconscot in Beaconsfield, and it had that feel to it, that you were standing over a model village, but the model village was actually real-life London. Another thing that you notice while you're up there is actually the London rail network. It's a lot bigger and more comprehensive than you kind of think, because obviously you only get your individual train in from wherever you're going and you end up at the station you want to go to. But from up there, you can see all the junctions, how many tracks there actually are in and out of London. That was quite interesting in itself. And obviously you had the cliche thing where all the cars and all the people just look like little ants below. It is brilliant but weird at the same time. On that top level, they do have a bar. Therefore, we thought it would be rude not to have some sort of fizz. It was still quite early in the day, so we actually both had non-alcoholic fizzy wine, but that doesn't matter because that still looks great in the photos when you're posing, holding your drink up with that London view and backdrop behind you. We probably stayed in the top viewing area for about an hour or so, just moving around, looking at the different parts, getting lots of pictures. It's a weirdly zen place. It was very relaxing, seemed very chill, despite the people coming and going. Now, although you have to arrive at an allocated time, you could stay up there as long as you want. Once we felt we got our money's worth from being right at the top and seen and spotted everything we wanted to. As I said earlier, when the lift brings you up, it drops you outside a different, slightly lower viewing area that has a bar and some more seats and tables. So we decided to have a look round there to get the different perspective from a slightly lower view and just see if there are any seats free. As it happened, there was a table and seat available, so we sat down there and someone came over straight away, more or less, to ask us if we wanted to order some drinks. So we did. I had a mocktail, Linda had a cocktail. It was all very civilised. We just sat there again, having our drinks, looking over London, which looked amazing in the sunshine. On that level, there's actually a piano. Not totally sure why. Anyway, while we were there was a young girl who sat down and started playing the piano. She was fantastic. She played for only about 5 minutes, but it was really good and kind of really added to the ambience and atmosphere of the sunshine, the views of London, the drinks. Just for a bit of a laugh as we were leaving, I got Linda to take a picture of me sat at the piano. And later on the social medias, I pretended I was treating the good people in the Shard viewing area to a bit of Chaz and Dave. Luckily, I wasn't. I cannot play the piano, and my singing is even worse than my musical instrument prowess, which is zero itself. So all in all, we probably spent about 2.5 hours up there. And it was great fun, really enjoyed it. I would actually go up there and do it again. Just before we came down, we noticed there were some toilets and I decided I'd best go as we were going to walk to the restaurant. And I'm really glad I did, otherwise we'd have missed out. We both went in the end. When you go into the toilets, they're individual cubicles. And when you open the door, what you'll find is an entire wall of the toilet is a window facing out over the Thames with views of London. It's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. I'm presuming it's one of those windows where you can look out and people cannot look in. Even though you're quite high up, there's helicopters and planes about, you know. I wouldn't want anybody seeing me on the toilet, so I think you can't see in. But it was quite strange going to the lavatory while looking out over London for a massive window. But it did add to the experience, and I'm glad I got to see it and do it. On the way back down, same system. There's arrows to follow into the 2 lifts on the way down. As it worked out, We actually got the second lift down to the floor all by ourselves. It was just the two of us, which was quite a surprise, bearing in mind how many people were milling about. Of course, you exit through the gift shop and they do give you the chance to buy the photos that they took as you were entering. Basically, it's all green screen photos. They put various backdrops on them. They were okay, but I didn't actually buy them on this occasion because we were going to be out for the rest of the day. And me being me, I figured I'd probably only lose them anyway. We left the Shard with just enough time to walk to our reservation at Marco Pierre White's Steakhouse, just by Liverpool Street Station. That was a lovely little stroll in the sunshine. We arrived there dead on time, and the maitre d' showed us straight to our table. Now, although the restaurant isn't celiac accredited, they were absolutely fine supplying me with gluten-free food. Staff were very knowledgeable, very helpful, told me what I could and couldn't have, and they made it very clear they were taking a bit of extra effort with my food. I mean, I did only have a steak, so you can't go too far wrong. That very much is cooked by itself and, of course, is naturally gluten-free. Sadly, though, I couldn't have the house fries because they were made contained, so I can't risk anything that's made contained. So I had to have mashed potato with my steak, but that was all very nice. Although, prior to that, for starter, I had prawn cocktail, which I really did enjoy. When I was a kid, when I first started going out to restaurants with my parents or pubs that did food, that would always be my starter of choice. Prawn cocktail, some lettuce and some bread. So it was a nice trip down memory lane, enjoying the starter there. The deal that we'd paid for did include 3 courses, therefore we both did have dessert. I had a lovely chocolate mousse, which was great. Service in there was good. It was a nice place. Enjoyed our meal. It was nice to eat there. Sadly, there was no Marco Pierre White there himself, but I didn't really expect him to be. He's got so many restaurants, very big chains of them. I suspect, he's not actually that hands-on anymore. Food was good, and I would certainly eat there again, no problem at all. So we had the Shard and the restaurant booked a little bit in advance. During the week, it turned out that it was going to be a very nice day. We had been thinking about trying to go to Regent's Park Open Air Theatre to go and see one of their current productions. With us being in London and finishing what we had planned with enough time to do that, and with it being such a nice day, about a day or so before, we booked tickets to go and see La Cage aux Folles, which is one of those musicals that I was very much aware of but had never seen. I remember over the years Graham Norton and John Barrowman being in productions of it in the West End, but I never got round to going to see them for whatever reason. The only thing I did know about it in advance before going, and I'm sure this is the one thing we all know about this production, is the big song from it. It does feature I Am What I Am, which I think is a fantastic song. When we finished dinner, we still had about 2 hours until the doors were open at the theatre. It was, as I keep saying, such a lovely day. So we actually decided to walk from the restaurant to Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. The plan was to stop off for a few pit stops on the way. That didn't actually happen, although before we headed off, just across the road from the restaurant, there was an Italian food hall. Now, Linda is a massive fan of food in general, but does like the Italian food. I like it as well, because as a celiac on a fully gluten-free diet, Italy and Spain are both very good at that. So we had a great look around this food hall, looking at all this cheese, meat, pasta, and wonderful Italian food. However, because we were off to the theatre after, obviously neither of us could actually buy anything because we wouldn't be able to carry it around for the rest of the day. We got to the theatre about 45 minutes before the show was due to start, which is my optimal time, what I generally try to aim for when I'm going to see a show. I had been to the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre before. I quite like it. It's very well set up. It's got a nice feel to it. And of course, you get to walk through Regent's Park to get there. And I often forget how big Regent's Park is, and the fact it's kind of separated by roads and by paths in sections. Therefore, it did take us a little bit longer to walk to the theatre section than I remembered on entering the park. We had enough time to grab a couple of drinks before it was time to take our seats for the performance. I must say, we did embarrass ourselves a little bit on the way in. We were trying to find our seats, and I was looking at the numbers on the seats where we were heading because I was trying to work out where we'd be sat to cause the least disruption to the other people who already sat down. As it turns out, the numbering system at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre is a little confusing because I was following the numbers upwards to where we should be. So I arrived at where we thought we should be and the numbers were way out. We were basically almost at the end of one row. We entered it at completely the wrong end. So I had to walk past loads of people who we really needn't have walked through. But I was just following the numbers I could see. Now, I was feeling quite bad thinking I'd been a bit of an idiot. But while we were sat there, we saw at least 5 other people do exactly the same as we did. So I didn't feel so bad after that. But I'll know for next time if I go again. Ignore the numbers, just work out where you're supposed to be in advance and head for that area. You'll probably be okay. The show itself was fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. I wasn't actually fully aware of the story. I had a rough idea, but didn't know exactly. It's good. It's a very, very good story. The cast were excellent. The dance moves on that stage were sensational. It's got humour. It's got absolutely everything in there. And of course, it has got that big song, I Am What I Am, which did close the first half of the show. It's such a catchy number as well. It's one that just gets in your head. I was singing it or humming it pretty much for the whole week after, and I absolutely love that song. I do like the version from the musical itself, but also you've got Gloria Gaynor's disco version of it, which is also brilliant as well. And it's a song with meaning that we can all learn from and we can all appreciate, I think. It kind of makes sense to everyone in a way. It contains a good message, I think. As it was such a lovely day, it stayed warm, t-shirt weather all evening, all through the performance. As the sun sets and it just gets dark, it just adds to the atmosphere, adds to the excitement. A standing ovation at the end for the cast. I fully enjoyed it. I would go and see the show again. I would definitely recommend, if you haven't been, giving it a go in the open air. It gives it a bit of a different dimension from actually being in a more traditional theatre. Slightly different feel to it, but definitely worth doing. We had a thoroughly lovely evening, and as a right result, we managed to get a train home that wasn't too busy, and we actually got seats next to each other on, which for a train home late on a Saturday night is not bad going nowadays. The perfect end to the perfect day in many ways. Now, I haven't really talked about this, but I've had some ongoing headache issues for about the last 6 months now. I've been back and forth to doctors and hospitals. There's been various checks. They can't actually find anything particularly wrong, which is good. That's definitely an encouraging, pleasing thing, but I am still getting regular headaches pretty much on a daily basis, which is not ideal. I'm sure you could agree. So it meant that I ended up going for an MRI scan a few weeks ago. It wasn't the first time that I'd been to have one. I have had one before. If you haven't, they are quite odd things. They're perfectly fine, perfectly safe, and the staff always look after you fantastically well. But when you first see them, they do feel a bit like something James Bond would end up in at his enemy's lair. I mean, obviously Bond would escape unharmed, as do you when you finish your MRI scan. What they do is, when it's one for your head, they give you headphones and earplugs before you go in. The whole thing takes about 12 minutes and you just get hydraulically put into the machine itself, and you just have to lie there still while it does its thing. It does make some very strange, very weird noises. It's quite mad from that respect. So you just kind of have to daydream, do whatever you want, you can go to sleep, count sheep, do whatever you like. It's not painful, it doesn't hurt. It's just a bit, I suppose, disconcerting when you hear some of those noises going around. But you're looked after very well. You have a little button you can press if you need to get out quickly, if you have a bit of a panic attack or whatever. And also as well, they can talk to you in those headphones as well, just to check you're doing okay, and they can hear you back as well. So it's all fine, all perfectly safe. I've had the results back. The MRI scan seems fine. So if you ever get called to take one, don't worry, they're perfectly fine and they're very good. Once again, very lucky to have the NHS. They are very, very good. We all know it can sometimes be tricky to get appointments with your doctors. They're very, very busy, as are the hospitals at the moment, but they're all doing their best and working fantastically hard. But what does tend to happen, if they think there might be something that's a little bit serious, they do try and see you as quickly as they possibly can. And I think we should all be very grateful for that. They do a fantastic job. As ever, can't praise the NHS highly enough for the work they do. However, we are still trying to work out what's causing the headaches. Hopefully that'll be discovered soon and I could be once again headache free. That'll be nice. Football wise, we had the international break and England managed to draw in Ukraine and then beat Scotland in a friendly as well. Always such big, exciting games, the England v Scotland games, aren't they? I didn't actually see the Ukraine game because that's when we were in London enjoying the Shard, the restaurant and the La Cage aux Folles. I did watch the Scotland game. I enjoyed it. I thought we played okay. The weirdest thing now, though, being a Tottenham fan, normally when we used to play England friendlies, once Harry Kane had got his goal, because I always wanted Harry to score, but I'd be willing the manager to take you off and rest him for our next game. Now he's no longer a Tottenham player. I was quite happy for him to stay on the whole game. Didn't bother me at all, funnily enough. Talking of Tottenham, we've had a good start to the season. It's been good fun. My expectations were fairly low, but as ever, I'm always an optimist and I hoped if we started well, we might do okay. Because last season was so poor, we haven't got any European football this year and we're already out of the Carabao Cup. So generally, we're only going to be playing one game a week between now and the end of the season, which I think might help us have a bit of a run in maybe the FA Cup and do okay in the league. It's gone very well so far in that we've won 4 out of our first 5 games and remain unbeaten in the league as well, having drawn our first game. Last weekend's game was amazing. I am a season ticket holder, so I was there to see us play Sheffield United. It was a frustrating game for most of it. Sheffield United had a game plan and there were a few tricks they were doing. A bit of kidology here and there, I felt. And there was quite a bit, it seemed, of time wasted. The referee didn't really seem to get on top of it and did appear to lose control. I think there were about 14 bookings in that game and it wasn't a particularly nasty game, I don't think. We had the ball most of the time, we missed a few chances, and as normally happens when you don't take your chances in football, against the run of play, Sheffield United went 1 up. That was with about 13 minutes left to play, and it looked at that point like it was going to be one of those frustrating, annoying days. However, the referee did spot some time wasted, it seemed eventually, and played 12 minutes of injury time. In the 8th minute of injury time, Richarlison got the equaliser for us, and the stadium absolutely erupted and went crazy. Just a couple of minutes later, Kulusevski scored the winner almost out of nothing, and I have never seen a football stadium go so crazy. The noise when that goal went in, we were all jumping around. I have hardly spoken to the guy who sits to the right of me, yet we were hugging each other and jumping up and down and screaming when that goal went in. To win a game like that so late in injury time, when it looks like it's just escaped you, and to grab those important 3 points, I was buzzing for the rest of the weekend. It was an amazing feeling. Whatever happens to Spurs this season, we are going to have some fun. We're having a go. We're playing well. Let's see what happens. I'm very happy at the moment as a Spurs fan. Before I go, just the usual reminder that you can hear my radio show every Saturday between 2 and 4 at radio9springs.com. But that is it for this week. Thanks for listening. Look after yourselves and each other, please. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.